So Dana White just announced some fights for UFC 307 earlier this morning, and it looks like UFC 307 is saved. A lot of people were thinking, UFC 306 is looking okay, UFC 308 is stacked. What is UFC 307 going to be? Please don't tell me it's going to be Pennington versus Pena as a main event. And it was really looking like that's what it was going to be. It was looking like it was going to be Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena as the main event of UFC 307. There were some rumblings of Alejandro Pantoja versus Kai Asakura for the main event, potentially. But no, Alex Pereira saves the day again. He's now saved 4 pay-per-views in the UFC. This one he didn't really save per se, but if this was a Pennington versus Pena main event, then it's not, that's not a good pay-per-view. So he did kind of save it, but it's not like, a main event got canceled and he stepped in, but you know what I mean. Alex Pereira versus Khalil Roundtree was announced for the UFC 307 main event. Very interesting matchmaking. And, after they booked Ankalaev against Rakic, what else can you really do? I don't think it really makes a lot of sense for Pereira versus Roundtree. But like I said, once they booked Ankalaev, who else is going to get it? He just fought Yuri twice. Jan doesn't deserve a shot. Rakic is booked. He already knocked out Jamal Hill. Who else is up there that really deserves a shot? So I guess I get it. And I would much rather see this as a main event than Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely. So I'm pretty hyped to see that. And co-main event Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena. I think this is perfect. People are going to overreact to this. What a boring co-main. Dude, this could have been a main event. It's a championship fight. It's never not going to be a main event or a co-main event. Be glad that it's a co-main event and be glad that there's a fight to watch after this, So I think this is perfect. You got to do this as a co-main event. This will never be like a feature fight unless there's a 3 title fight card, which rarely happens nowadays. But yeah, I think this is a perfect spot to do Pennington versus Pena. You can sneak it on this card under Alex Pereira and kind of get away with that because, not a lot of people are really looking forward to this fight, but you got to defend the belt. You can't just keep him out. So yeah, I think that's actually fine for a co-main event, especially considering how good the rest of the card is. So you look at the feature fight, Caitlin Vieira versus Kayla Harrison. Not really excited for that one. I think that's just kind of going to be a Kayla Harrison domination. But, feature fight, Kayla Harrison, it's whatever. I think the 4 fights under that are super good fights, dude. Movsar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling. That's a banger. That's a banger fight. I'm really looking forward to that. Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. That's a really good fight. Roman Dolidze versus Kevin Holland. It's a ranked matchup. What more can you ask for the 5th fight down, or 6th fight down actually? And then Stephen Thompson and Joaquin Buckley. That's another ranked matchup. Especially considering what we thought UFC 307 could be. We could be getting a Raquel Pennington versus Juliana Pena main event with a not so stacked main card. This is a pretty good list of fights here, dude. This is much better than a lot of people thought UFC 307 was gonna be. So 306, 307, and 308 are all looking pretty good. And honestly, 306 is looking the weakest out of all of them. But as for early predictions for UFC 307, we have some opening lines here for all the fights that were just announced. Pereira is a huge favorite, minus 450 to Khalil Roundtree's plus 350. I completely agree. Early prediction for that fight, dude, like I said, man, I said this in the Yuri Prochazka versus Alex Pereira 2 recap video. Dude, you cannot stand with Alex Pereira. A striker is not going to beat Alex Pereira. I just don't see it happening, especially a guy like Khalil Roundtree, who is good. He is powerful, but, dude, he's going to get out-techniqued by Pereira, and he's probably going to get knocked out. I think Pereira is probably going to knock him out in round 1, in all honesty. Roundtree doesn't really deserve a title shot. Maybe that's another video for another day, but, yeah, I think this is going to be an easy win for Pereira. So, yeah, my early prediction for that's probably going to be round 1 KO for Pereira. If you're picking Khalil Roundtree, you're telling me that someone is going to stand on the feet with Alex Pereira and beat him? Yeah, not a chance, dude. I don't believe it at this point. I don't know how Adesanya knocked him out. I have no idea. But, yeah, if anyone's going to just stand on the feet and strike with Alex Pereira, they're not going to win. I think Ankalaev has the best chance at light heavyweight because he can mix in the grappling. Khalil Roundtree cannot mix in the grappling. Therefore, he's going to stand with Pereira, and therefore, he's probably going to get knocked out. So Pereira round 1 KO. Pennington versus Pena. These odds are pretty close. Pena is an underdog at plus 131 right now. Pennington is minus 150. I mean, I don't really know. I'm probably going to go with Pennington just because Pena's stand-up is so atrocious and so awful. I think Pennington can probably just outstrike her for 5 rounds. I'm probably going to go Pennington by decision in that fight. Movsar Evloev is a slight favorite over Aljamain Sterling, minus 145 to Sterling's plus 125. And I'm probably going to go with Sterling in that fight, honestly. I think Sterling is super underrated. He is a massive featherweight. Like, you look at Sterling, dude, it's like, how does this guy make bantamweight? He is so big and so, like, strong and so dense. Like, he's got a lot of muscle to him. And with a guy like Evloev who has no finishing potential, he has no KOs in the UFC, no submissions in the UFC. Every one of his UFC fights has been a decision. I don't see him knocking out Sterling. People underrate the striking of Sterling. People want to act like Sterling cannot strike, like he's one of the worst strikers in the sport. Just completely untrue. Sterling can strike. He is a decent striker. Like, he's not some Ben Askren level striker that people want to make him out to be. I don't know why they do that, but he's a super aggressive striker. He's always putting a bunch of pressure on you, walking you down, like against Sandhagen especially, dude. Like, walking him down, cutting him off, just putting a bunch of pressure on him early in that fight. I mean, he tried to do the same thing against O'Malley, but O'Malley's just a different level of striker. I don't see Evloev out-wrestling Sterling either, to be honest. Like I just don't see Evloev getting a double leg, getting a single leg, and dumping Sterling. I just don't see it, man. I think Sterling is too good of a wrestler. He's too good of a grappler. He's too strong. He's too dense. I think he's going to out-wrestle and out-grapple Evloev. That might be a hot take, but I think he's going to win a decision here. I think he's going to out-grapple Evloev. I think he's going to put a heavy pressure on Evloev early in that fight, walk him down, throw lots of volume, and then eventually mix in the wrestling, shoot a takedown, get a takedown. And I think he's going to be able to hold down Evloev. So for my early prediction, I think Aljamain Sterling's going to get that one done. I'm going to say he gets it done by decision over Movsar Evloev. I just think he's very, very underrated, man. He's very underrated. And I think he's got all the tools to get that one done. Kayla Harrison is a massive favorite over Caitlin Vieira, minus 800 to plus 560. Yeah, I get it. Harrison is just, she's going to run through Caitlin Vieira, man. There's not a lot of women's fighters that are, I don't know, how do I say this? There's not a lot of women's MMA fighters who look stronger than some of the men. You know what I mean? Like, Kayla Harrison's got a lot of muscle on her. She looks massive. She's so strong. Great judo. I think she's just going to run through Caitlin Vieira. Kayla Harrison, I'm going to say she gets it done by round 1. No, I'm going to say round 2. Round 2 submission over Caitlin Vieira. Mario Bautista is a very slight favorite over Jose Aldo. And I think early prediction, I'm going to lean towards Aldo in that fight. His hands are so quick, dude. It's like insane how quick Aldo's hands are in the boxing, dude. And Bautista, you know, he is good. He is talented. He is fairly young. If anyone's going to improve more from their next fight into this fight, it's going to be Mario Bautista. But, man, Aldo's boxing, Aldo's stand-up is just too good, man. And his anti-wrestling, his takedown defense is some of the best we've ever seen. So I think Bautista's going to struggle to get Aldo down to the ground. I don't think he's going to outstrike Aldo. I think Aldo is going to be too quick on the feet for him. So early prediction for Bautista versus Aldo. I'm kind of surprised that Aldo's an underdog, even though it is very slight. I figured Aldo would be the favorite in this fight. But early prediction, I'm going to say Aldo by decision over Bautista, stuffing the takedowns and outstriking Bautista for 3 rounds. Kevin Holland versus Roman Dolidze. Holland is a minus 135 favorite to Dolidze's plus 115. And I'm surprised these odds are that close. I think Kevin Holland's going to destroy Roman Dolidze. I think he's better everywhere. Roman Dolidze, congrats, dude. You beat Anthony Smith. To be honest, I'm not impressed. I don't care, dude. Anthony Smith is washed. He's garbage. But Kevin Holland is athletic. He's a fairly good striker. Good chin, even though he did get dropped in his last fight for the first time ever, really, I think. Good striker, good submissions, decent grappling. I just don't see a world where Roman Dolidze's slow, unathletic, plotty striking style outstrikes Kevin Holland. And I especially don't see a world where Roman Dolidze is able to shoot a takedown and get Kevin Holland to the ground. Now, if he can get Kevin Holland down or somehow wind up on top of Kevin Holland whether he somehow drops him, Kevin Holland slips, or who knows what, or maybe he is able to get a takedown and this fight goes to the mat, then Dolidze is very dangerous and he can lock up a submission. But it's just like, how does Dolidze get it there? His takedown entries are awful. His striking is slow. He's unathletic. I think Kevin Holland has so many more advantages in this fight than Dolidze. I think he's more athletic. He's got way better striking. He's way quicker. And I just don't see how Dolidze gets him down. So I'm going to say Kevin Holland wins this one. I'm going to say he probably wins a decision. Maybe he finishes Dolidze by TKO in the later rounds. But yeah, I like Kevin Holland in that fight. I think these odds are a little off. I would think Kevin Holland should be like a 2-1 favorite at least. But maybe that's just me. I'm not high on Dolidze. I don't understand that one. And Joaquin Buckley versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. Joaquin Buckley is currently a -150 favorite to Stephen Thompson's +130. And for my early prediction, I'm going to go with another underdog. I think Stephen Thompson's going to get this one done over Joaquin Buckley. Stephen Thompson is one of those guys, man. It's like, all right, you're not going to outstrike Stephen Thompson. It's can you out-wrestle him? I don't see Joaquin Buckley being able to win a stand-up fight against Stephen Thompson. Not a lot of people in the world can do that. So it's just, can Joaquin Buckley get Stephen Thompson down? And Shavkat Rakhmonov struggled to get Stephen Thompson down at times. You know, like, he's got pretty solid takedown defense, but once he gets on the ground, you know, he's kind of a little lost. But I don't know. I just don't think Joaquin Buckley is at that level, the high level of the welterweight division. You know, Stephen Thompson was preparing for Shavkat Rakhmonov, and he did fairly well in the grappling for a decent amount of time in that fight. I think if he can hold up against Rakhmonov, I think he should be able to stuff the takedowns of Buckley and keep this fight on the feet. And if this fight stays on the feet, you know, it's hard to pick against Stephen Thompson, even at 41 years of age. So early prediction, I'm going to say Stephen Thompson gets it done. I'm going to say he finds a KO on Joaquin Buckley in round 3. Round 3 KO for Stephen Thompson. Joaquin Buckley may be a little tired after shooting for takedowns all fight, maybe a little gassed, and Stephen Thompson will catch him with something off guard that he doesn't see coming and find a KO. But yeah, those are my early picks for UFC 307. This card is looking great, man. This is looking a lot better than a lot of people expected. Super excited for this card. Let me know what you guys think. Who do you think is going to win each of these matchups? And I will see you next time.